with chat.
Studio, see if you can see it there. It's not there, that's just the videos. Because it's going to the studio now. Can you see this? And then.
Hello everyone. This is my first live stream. Can you tell? On. Right. So that should be the sound sorted. Welcome. Nice that you could join me. It's been, hang on a minute, I've still got one more monitor that's making noise. Right, that should be it. Okay. Few technical issues. I've had a crash course in how to do live streams, which has been interesting to say the least. My husband Mark has helped me an awful lot. He works in IT, so he's very good at all this kind of stuff, whereas I mainly make lampshades and also do some painting. So it's technology, it's not really my kind of thing. But anyway, welcome. For anyone watching, it'd be lovely to say hello. Feel free to pop some comments in the chat if you want to ask me any questions. More than happy to answer anything. So today I thought we could paint something very similar to this. So it's using mainly Indian yellow. It's quite a loose landscape, so not an awful lot of detail other than this nice large tree here in the foreground. We're going to start off with the sky, so we'll get all those yellow tones in and use some sepia, which will be nice. And I'm hoping that we don't have to dry it too much, because if you have a look here, I'm using a smaller, if you compare the painting size, I'm going to do it on a much smaller format today, because I don't want to have to use the hairdryer. I'm not sure I'd be able to turn the sound off and then turn the sound back on again and it for all to be working. So I think we'll try and do it in a fairly small format, and then we can get the layers to dry as and when we're doing them. Okay, so should we get started then? So to begin with, I'm going to start by wetting the sky area of the painting. I've already sprayed my paints, so I'm using Indian yellow. Just make sure that's all nice and loose. So I've got my 2 water jars, my small bunny jar and my large water jar. And we're going to start off by wetting the sky. So it doesn't need to be exact, we're just going to get some water on there and have it come down quite low, because this main painting it's going to be about the sky and how we can get those paints to flow quite nicely. I'm using Archie's paper as usual, although I did use Canson the other day, Moulin de Rouge, and that worked really well. Not Moulin de Rouge, where did that come from? Moulin de Roy. I'm thinking of Moulin Rouge. I need to switch my brain on. So I used Moulin de Roy, and that was also cold press, 100% cotton, but it took the layers really well. So yes, but today I'm back to normal Archie's cold press. So we're going to start popping in some of the Indian yellow. And we're not going to be exact about it, we're just going to get some of that colour in. Just so we've got some nice splashes. This is going to be quite a yellow painting, as you could probably tell from the thumbnail and from the original that I showed you, but I think it gives a really nice overall glow. So what we're going to do then is take our sepia, keep that quite rich because we've got an awful lot of water still on the paper here, and we want to get it to sort of flow quite nicely. So I'm going to use my spray bottle in a minute, and we're going to see if we can get some nice bleeds. So just dabbing it in, nothing too exact, maybe a little bit along there. Just sticking that up a little bit. Just using my flat brush, and then we'll take the spray bottle and we're going to give it a spray. So we're going to get that paint to move quite nicely. Oh, probably should have cleaned that first. And then I'm probably going to take a little bit more because we've lost those nice definition bits there. And a bit more. So nothing too exact. Want it to stay nice and loose, a little bit down there. And we'll give another little spray. And then tilt it the other way so we can get a little bit through the other side as well. And then in a moment we'll set it flat when we've got the paint to where we want it to be, because we don't want it to keep moving around on the paper. We want it to stay exactly where we want it. So we'll put it flat in a minute. One more spray. Oh, make sure you can see that, as it runs down quite nicely. So I'm going to clean off my brush. I've got an awful lot of dark in here. So today I thought we could do quite a simple painting, purely because I'm live and I was a little bit nervous, and I thought, oh, I don't want to do anything too technical in case I really mess it up. So quite an easy loose sky. And I think that's moved enough now. So we're going to lay that flat. Take a little bit of the water off there. I'm just putting in a little bit of fairly clean water. It's not particularly clean, but it'll do because all of this is going to get covered up mostly anyway. Okay, and I think what I might do is just put a few more little paddles in here because it did look, we've lost our definition from all the spraying that I did, and we don't want it to just look like a lot of brown rain because that wasn't the look we were going for. And then lift that up again and give it one last spritz. And what you can do is use your brush to manipulate the paint down as well. See if we can get a few little flowy bits. I don't want to mess with it too much because I quite like that sweepy look to it. Okay, I think I'm happy with that now. So it's really nice that some people have joined me today to whether to paint along or just to watch and see what happens live. I really enjoy doing tutorials, but there is a certain amount of editing that goes on, so I don't think you really get the natural feel of what's happening when the painting's being done. So I thought it'd be really nice to sort of be here on camera and you can actually see the process of it start to finish. Now this is all quite wet still, but what we're going to do is, because we want it to really diffuse, so if we have a look at our picture again, our misty mountains here, we want them to really diffuse, we don't want them to be too strong. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the alizarin crimson with our sepia. And we're just going to start to paddle that in, varying the mixture. So we don't want it to all be red, we don't want it to all be brown, we want a few different tones in there. And as you can see, it's bleeding, which is what I wanted, because I want to try and get that sort of misty effect to it. A little bit more brown. And this is a little bit strong down here, so we're going to sweep it across. Now it doesn't really look like much at the moment, and I think that's the idea when you're doing loose landscapes, that to begin with you don't really have very much to work with. You have a few colours on the paper, you have a few different tonal values, but it's still all quite light, so there's not an awful lot of definition. And I really want all of this to diffuse, because when it's dried a little bit more, we'll put the suggestion of some little trees coming up through it. A little bit more yellow. So now we're going to, while all of this is still drying at the top, we're going to sweep in a little bit of colour down here at the bottom. don't want it too stripy. We just want to give the suggestion of some, almost a seascape. See if we can soften that up a little bit. So we're going to have the suggestion of almost like a coastline coming in. But I don't want to put too much paint on at the moment because we want it to be quite loose. So really it's 3 layers for this painting. The main one being the sky, and then adding in the suggestion of a mountain and then some of the foreground. And then the second layer is adding a little bit more detail to it once it's dried off. Without the hairdryer, without the noise, otherwise you're going to have to mute the camera. Because I'm not sure how to mute mute my speaker. So, and then the final bit will be a tree coming up, which will give the real dark in the foreground, which will be nice. So it will give us the suggestion, not the suggestion, it will give us a real focal point for the painting. And then I'm just really lightly, loosely bringing those in, because that one looked a little bit hard. So we're starting to get some shape. I think I would have liked the sky area to be a little bit darker. I think I sprayed that off a bit too much. But I like the mistiness of this mountain, and I think once that's dried a little bit more, we can put some extra paints in and that will give us a nice effect. So I'm going to add in a little bit of the red now, just to warm it up a bit, because it's mainly brown and yellow at the moment. And we want it to stay more yellow here, and we're going to pop in a little bit of colour. And we're going to mix that with a little bit of the brown as well. So I don't know if anyone else has watched any other live streams on YouTube. I haven't seen very many, to be honest, not in recent times anyway. There seemed to be an awful lot from a long time ago, so I don't know if maybe it just wasn't a popular thing to do. But yeah, this is, oh, it's very new to me. It's been a bit of a baptism of fire, to be honest. But I love painting. I love coming on and doing tutorials, and I find you really learn an awful lot as well from just painting all the time, painting every day, trying to do a mixture of different scenes, whether it's detailed or loose. I really like the loose painting at the moment. So it's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to try and start to dab in some darker paint. Now I'm using my angled flat brush. I don't use it an awful lot actually, but it's a little bit easier than a normal flat, because you can get the angle, especially if you're doing mountains. You can angle the brush quite nicely, so you've still got a nice tip. My bracelet jangling. So we've started to get a few more darks now in this mountain area, and it's still quite wet. So I'm going to get some more rich yellow. mix it with some of the brown, some of the red, so we get some nice mix of colours. And this will set the scene for us bringing in our tree in a little while. Ooh. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a cold today. I think I've caught one off my daughter. That's the problem with, well, not the problem, I shouldn't say she's a problem, she's not a problem. But she is 9 and she is still at the age where she's still catching lots of colds and things from school, bringing them home with her, which is can be a little bit of a pain. But yeah, I think I've possibly caught something. And I brought that one in a little bit further than I was planning. So I think I'm going to have to bring this one in a bit more as well. So we're almost pretty much taking it to the edge. Okay, I don't want to mess around with this too much, but while it's still damp, I'm going to mix a little bit of the red and the brown together, and I'm going to see if I can drop a few little bits in to give some darker edges, because that'll set the scene a little bit more. And then a little bit more red as well. And then we can soften that up so it doesn't look quite so stripy. And I might have to just use the other pot soon because my bunny pot is getting very dirty. So just see if we can soften those just a little bit, because we don't want them to be too stripy. Okay, so I think that looks okay at the moment. Then we're going to go back to our mountain and with even more richer paint, because it is still quite damp, so we do need to be quite careful still at this stage. I'd like to try and add in almost the suggestions. You can just see I'm using the point and I'm just flicking it up. I'll add a little bit more red to that, and a bit more. Try not to put too much paint on my brush because I want these to be really gentle. Now I am still quite wet in the sky, so I'm going to have to make that a bit richer, which I didn't really want to because I don't want it to be too dark. But otherwise we're going to have to use the dreaded hairdryer, and I don't want to do that. I've had enough technical issues today to not want to have to do that. Okay, and then a little bit more, and we might see if we can add in a bit more yellow as well to that. Now because the sky is quite damp still, it is diffusing, so hopefully they shouldn't look quite so sharp. And then just varying the mixture as you go along. So a little bit more of the Indian red at this section. And then back to the brown and back to the red. and then a few little sweeps. So it doesn't look quite so stuck on. So we're still laying the foundations here. I haven't really put in an awful lot of detail yet in terms of tonal values. So it's still all very much one kind of colour. But I'll finish up with some darker sections down here. And then obviously as the tree comes through, that'll give us a really pretty, pretty focal point. And a bold focal point as well. And then just some really, really tiny ones down there. And that water really is not clean anymore. Make sure I'm not too damp. Okay, so I think that's our foundations laid. Still very, very wet in the sky. So you might just have to, unless I can mute my mic for a little bit. Otherwise, I think we're going to struggle to do our tree. So what I might do is give it a little test run. With some little darks. So using a really rich mixture of the sepia and then putting some red into that. And then we'll have a go at just popping in a few. I'm just going to take my bracelet off because it's really jangling. It's annoying me, so it must be annoying you. And then we'll just see if we can put in a few little touches and see how it takes them, because it is very wet. So I don't know if you can see that. So they are diffusing a little bit, but not as much as I thought they would actually. So we'll just flick that around. I love a rigger brush. They're great, they're so versatile. You can get such a good spring off them when you're doing grasses and details. Which one's this? This is a Pro Art Renaissance Sable Rigger, and it's number 3. So yeah, I thought it might say 8 then, but no, it's definitely number 3, even with my glasses on. So yeah, they're great. I wasn't sure how to use them when I first bought one. I think I was trying to use too much of the brush until I realised that really I just needed to flick the very top of it to give us an awful nice, nice little springy grass or reeds. So I'm just adding in a few darks because I think we're still a little bit away from being able to paint up our tree, because our tree branches are going to come up into the sky. So we need to make sure that it's not too damp up here and that they don't diffuse an awful lot. And then just a bit of water. And smooth that out a little bit. That's just my phone going off there. Should have turned that off really, shouldn't I? So I would really like to start painting the tree now. So we'll start off at the trunk and see how we get on. It may be that by the time I get up to do the branches, we should be able to. So I'm going to start off with some darks and then we'll see how we get on. So just using the rigger brush. I'm using the tip and I'm making sure that I'm not doing a completely straight line, that we're varying it so it becomes like quite a natural tree shape. So I'm coming into the little trees there at the top, and you can see that they are starting to diffuse a lot. So I'm going to go back to the bottom of the trunk. I'm starting really dark on this side, and then what I'll do is I'll add some water so that we can make it lighter, because we don't want it to all be one colour. And we'll let that bleed across. And then a little bit of red, because we don't want it to look boring. We don't want it to be all one colour, and a little bit of yellow as well. My palette's getting quite messy now. Right. And then we'll do a little... I'm not used to painting this small with a rigger. Usually this would be a bit of a larger painting. I prefer painting large, to be honest. I feel that you can use larger brushes, you can be more free and easy with your strokes, and it makes you looser. I feel like I'm a bit constricted with this size. I think it's 9 by 7 inches, so it's not my usual sort of 22 by 30 centimetres. Not sure what that is in inches. I'm still very much a centimetres person. I don't really know inches. So usually I think I'd be flicking this rigger a little bit more across the page. But that's fine. I wanted to do a smaller painting for my first live painting. And then next time I might be brave enough to try a larger one. We'll see. We'll see how this one goes first. I haven't finished the painting yet. So just adding a few little touches of dark in there on that side. And then a little dab up here. My sky is definitely lighter than I wanted it to be. And I think I really do need to add less water next time. But that's learning for me as well. I definitely don't know everything there is to know about watercolour. So I'm just going to switch to my other rigger, which is it's just an art shop one. I'm not entirely sure what the brand is, but I do like the point on it. And I feel like you can get more of a spring to the end of it. I'm going to take this one up into the sky and just see how we are. and see if it's diffusing. I think that might be okay, to be honest, but that was a very thick mixture. So we'll try, I might try a slightly thinner mixture. And just sort of zigzagging it around. We don't want any thick branches, so we're going to have the main branches sort of down here. But we don't want these to be, we want them to be nice and wispy at the top, so they look a little bit more natural. And then we'll have another one coming out here, I think. Tree painting is so difficult. It took me forever to work out a process that I was happy with for painting almost a natural tree, because they're so ununiform. So if you ever have a look at a real tree when you're out and about, they just look so they look like they should be really easy to paint, but it's really difficult to place all of those branches in such a sporadic way so that it's not uniform, because otherwise it just looks really really unrealistic. Right, so I'm going to try and take this one across. I want it to be almost coming down. And then maybe just a little one there. And then we're going to have another one coming down here. And then up into that branch there. And we'll thicken that up a little bit. So we're getting there. I think I need one more in the middle, which is going to sort of sweep across the sky a little bit more. And that'll give us a real focal point to the painting. And I would like to use a few more little lighter colours as well for that section as we're coming up into the sky, so it looks a little bit more natural. We're just going to sweep that along and have it coming out of that section there. It's not very exciting, the tree painting bit, is it? Sorry. It takes quite a bit of time and a lot of patience. So the first laying of the wash is kind of the fun bit, really. I think when you get down to the tree sections, then it's a little bit more detailed and takes a lot more consideration about where you're placing things. I really like to just get a large brush and just get started, as I did with the sky, which didn't turn out quite as well as I'd hoped it would. But these bits, they take a little bit more care and attention. And then just adding a few little wispy bits. And then another bit coming out there so that I can pull that up. So I hope you're finding this useful. I mean, I'd love to hear your experiences of painting trees, painting landscapes. I love landscapes. It's my favourite, as you probably tell from my channel. I pretty much only paint landscapes, in all honesty. And maybe I should diversify a little bit. But yeah, I really like them. So I think I'm in danger of overworking that tree now. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to darken up these sections a little bit underneath, just to bed it down a bit more into the landscape. Just a few sweeps of the rigger, and then a little bit more of the reddy colour there. And then rinsing off my brush, I think I'm just going to darken that a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look at it and see what I think it needs. I think we do still need a few more darks at the back. Just trying to mix up a little bit more of a reddy colour. Where should we start? We start here. And then softening those as we go, because we don't want any hard bits. This is all supposed to be quite a natural landscape. I think I just lost one of my branches then, never mind. That's the beauty of painting live, you get to see all the accidents and all the mistakes as well at the same time. And then a little bit of yellow, I think, in this section here. Just to brighten it up and give it a little bit of a pop of colour. And I'll try not to lose these branches on this side. And I'm going to darken up that twiggy bit there because we were losing it. I don't think we're too far from being finished actually. I don't think there's much more. I think I'm going to end up in the realms of fiddling if I don't stop soon. And yeah, I don't want to fiddle too much. In fact, I think I might have already tipped over into fiddling. So just to finish off this painting then, I think I'm going to do a few tiny little stalks in this section. You can barely see them because they're really light, and the paper's still damp there from when I just ran in a few extra bits. But it just breaks up the flatness of it. So nothing too obvious. Just gives us something else, sort of texture in that section of the landscape. And then maybe a little more of a hard edge there so we can see it going off to the side. And I think that's probably it. I think we might be done. So I'm going to take the tape off so you can have a look. I was just painting today on a little acrylic board. They're really handy. So I have got a large wooden board which I paint on when I do my bigger paintings. But I quite like these little acrylic ones. The tape comes off really easily. and they're really light as well, so you don't need to worry about you know, a big clunky board on your desk. They're great because they're really light and they're quite flexible as well. So that's our painting finished. It's still a little bit damp, but you can see the tree, which is our main focus. And I do think that the sky needed more definition to it. So next time, less water. I'll make a mental note. So I hope you found that useful. I really enjoyed it. And thank you ever so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.